In late 2032, every single Social Security check in this country is scheduled to drop by 23%. Not maybe, not if Congress passes a bad law. The cut is already written into the law that exists right now. It triggers automatically when one specific account hits zero. The Congressional Budget Office says that account hits zero in 2032. The Office of the Chief Actuary at Social Security says it hits zero in 2032. The cut is not a proposal. It is a default. A typical retired couple loses $18,400 a year, every year, starting the month it triggers. And almost nobody on television is telling you the part of this story that actually matters. If you think you have heard this before, you have not. Every channel covering Social Security is telling you the program is running out of money. That framing is wrong. And in the next 60 seconds, I am going to show you the single sentence that flips everything you thought you knew about this. Here is the truth. Almost no retiree has ever been told. Social Security is not going to run out of money. Payroll taxes keep coming in every single paycheck of every working American every 2 weeks until the end of time. The money does not stop. What is going to happen, what the law already says will happen, is something different. There is a rule already on the books, signed into law decades ago, that automatically cuts every Social Security check the moment one specific account hits zero. The Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. When the balance in that fund hits zero, the law triggers, across the board, every beneficiary, every check, by a percentage written into the statute itself. Not a debate, not a proposal, a trigger. Inaction is the trigger. Let me say that again slowly, because it is the most important sentence in this entire video. Inaction is the trigger. Most retirees walk around thinking that Congress would have to pass a law to cut Social Security. They would not. The law that cuts Social Security has already been passed. Congress would have to pass a law to stop the cut from happening. That is the opposite of what almost every news anchor describes. The default direction is down. The default direction is cut. The default direction is automatic. The only thing that prevents the cut is action, and Washington in 2026 is not exactly a town famous for action. Hold on to that sentence. Because in about 3 minutes, I am going to show you something that turns that sentence from frustrating to terrifying. Here is what we are going to cover. The actual rule. The specific section of law that triggers the cut and what it really says. The exact number. 23% versus 28%, and which one is in the most recent official document. The dollar reality for someone with your check, your age, your situation. And the trap inside the timeline that almost every channel ignores because it makes the story uncomfortable. I am not a financial advisor. I am laying out what the rules say so you can act on what they actually mean. Every figure I give you tonight you can verify on the Social Security Administration's own website, or on the Congressional Budget Office website at cbo.gov. If anything I say sounds wrong, go look it up. That is how this works. The rule itself. Sections 201 and 1817 of the Social Security Act state that the program cannot pay out more in benefits than it has collected in revenue, plus the balance in its trust funds. That is the law. The Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund holds the reserves. For decades, that fund had a surplus. The program collected more in payroll taxes than it paid out, and the surplus was invested in Treasury bonds. Those bonds earn interest. The interest extended the life of the fund. But around 2021, the math flipped. The program started paying out more than it took in. The fund started drawing down, and the actuaries have been watching the depletion date come closer. Then February happened. The Congressional Budget Office, in its 2026 Budget and Economic Outlook, moved the depletion date up by a full year. Last year, the projection was 2033. This year, it is 2032. 1 year closer. 3 reasons. 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day, entering the system faster than projected. Slowing economic growth, payroll tax revenue coming in lower than expected. And recent legislation, specifically the Social Security Fairness Act, passed in January of 2025, and the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, added outgoing dollars without adding revenue. The Fairness Act alone paid out $17 billion in retroactive benefits. Most of it was owed, but it accelerated the depletion. And here is what I want you to sit with. The date moved 1 year closer in 12 months. That is not a stable projection. That is a moving deadline. 2032 is closer than you think. Now the number. The Social Security trustees, in their 2025 report, project the automatic cut at 23%. The Congressional Budget Office, in its updated 2026 analysis, puts the cut at 28. Both are real. Both are official. Use 23 as your conservative planning number. A typical retired worker check today is roughly $2,079 a month. Take 23% off the top, $478 a month gone. $5,736 a year, from a check that already does not stretch. But abstract percentages do not pay your electric bill. Let me make this concrete. Picture a 68-year-old woman, retired 4 years, collecting $2,400 a month, lives alone in a small apartment in Florida. Her rent is $1,500. Her Medicare Part B premium comes out of her check before she ever sees it. Her groceries and prescriptions take most of what is left. Her budget has no slack. She is 70, late 2032. The cut triggers 23%. Her $2,400 check becomes $1,848. $552 a month gone. $6,600 a year. She did not vote for that cut. She did not do anything wrong. She did not claim too early. She did not work too much. She did everything the system asked of her for 50 years. And on a random Tuesday in 2032, the deposit comes in $552 lighter. For the rest of her life. That is what 23% looks like in a kitchen. Stay with me. The next reveal is the one almost every channel gets backwards, and it is the part where this story turns from frustrating to terrifying. The cut applies across the board. Every single beneficiary. Current, future. Age 62 or age 95. Already collecting since 1987 or just claimed last month. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget put it in plain language in their analysis last August. All current and new retired beneficiaries, regardless of age or income, face the cut. There is no grandfather clause, no exemption for the elderly, no protection for low-income retirees, no carve-out for survivors. The cut is universal because the trust fund pays all of them from the same pool. When the pool runs dry, the math runs dry for everyone at once. Most viewers assume Congress would protect current retirees if they cut Social Security. The assumption is wrong on two levels. Congress is not the one cutting. The cut is automatic. And the structure of the trust fund is one pool, one rule, one trigger. The day the trigger fires, the cut applies to everyone. The dollar numbers by household type, from the Chief Actuary's own projections. A typical single-earner couple loses $13,800 a year. A dual-earner low-income couple, $11,200. A high-income couple, $24,400. These are not advocacy estimates. These are the numbers from the agency that administers the program. Now picture a different scenario, because the woman in Florida is one face of this. There are many. Picture a 60-year-old man, still working, planning to claim at his full retirement age of 67. He has done everything right. He delayed. He saved. His Social Security statement says his check at 67 will be $3,200 a month. He hits 66 in 2032. The trigger fires that year. He claims at 67 in 2033. His $3,200 check, the one he planned around for 40 years, opens at $2,464. $736 a month gone before he ever cashes the first one. The reduction is built into the system the day he files. There is no warming up period. He retires straight into the cut. That man is not theoretical. He is the entire cohort of Americans. Anyone in that window who plans to claim at full retirement age is planning to claim into the cut. I know you are sitting there thinking, fine, but Congress will act before 2032. They always do. Politicians say this every decade and nothing happens. So why panic now? Hear me out. That assumption is built on one specific historical event, 1983. That was the last time Social Security was about to default, and Congress came together at the last minute, raised the retirement age, taxed benefits for the first time, made the system solvent. Bipartisan, historic. Many retirees today remember it personally. The problem with using 1983 as a roadmap is the math. In 1983, Social Security was 3 months from being unable to pay full benefits. 3 months. Congress acted under absolute terminal urgency. Today, the depletion is 6 years away. Plenty of distance. Plenty of room for both parties to wait, posture, blame each other, run out the clock. Any reform now requires 60 votes in the Senate. Bipartisan agreement on Social Security in 2026 is something the Bipartisan Policy Center itself has questioned in published testimony. CBO analyst Molly Dahl, on March 25 this year, testified to the Senate Budget Committee that without congressional action, the cut will trigger. She did not say it might. She did not say it could. She said it will, unless something stops it. That is the official position of the agency that scores every piece of federal legislation. Here is the part that almost no channel will tell you, because it makes the political math uncomfortable. The class of senators that just took office in January of 2026 is the first group whose 6-year term ends after the depletion date. They are the first senators in modern American history who will personally face their voters after the cut has triggered, if they do not act. Every senator before this class could push the problem to the next term. This class cannot. That is a sliver of hope. But it depends on whether those senators choose to act and whether they can get to 60 votes. Neither is guaranteed. I know this is heavy. Take a breath. Because what comes next is what you actually do with all of this. The cut is real, but it is not the entire story. After the trigger, the program still pays 77 cents of every promised dollar from incoming payroll taxes alone. The system does not collapse. Your check does not stop. It shrinks. There is a difference, and the difference matters for your planning. Here is what to do this week, not next month. This week. First, go to sed.gov and pull up your benefit estimate. Whatever number it shows you, multiply it by 0.77. Write down both numbers, the full benefit, the post-trigger benefit. Put that piece of paper somewhere, you will see it again. That is your worst-case planning number for late 2032 onward. Second, annual dollar gap. Take the difference between those two numbers and multiply by 12. That is what your retirement budget needs to be able to absorb if Congress does nothing. Third, if you are married, do this for both checks together. The cut applies to both. So does the gap. Couples need to know the household number. Fourth, look up your two senators at senate.gov/contact. The current class is the first one whose term ends after the cut would trigger. They are the votes that decide whether the cut happens. If you have an opinion, the time for them to hear it is now, not in 2031. Fifth, if you have a parent, a grandparent, or a relative who depends on Social Security as their primary income, send them this video tonight. Not next week, tonight. Because the difference between a retiree who has 6 years to plan and a retiree who finds out on the day of the cut is the difference between a hard adjustment and a financial emergency. 2 minutes of their attention now, 6 years of preparation later. I do not know whether Congress will act. Nobody does. What I do know is that the structure of the law as it exists tonight is real. It is verifiable. It is in the Congressional Budget Office report dated February of this year. It is in the 2025 Trustees Report on sa.gov. It is in the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget Analyses from last August. None of that is opinion. None of that is partisan. It is the math of the program as written, and the math says by default 23% comes off every check in late 2032. That 68-year-old woman in Florida is going to be 74 when the deposit comes in $552 lighter. She does not need to be surprised. She needs to know now, plan now, and call her senators now. So do you. So does anyone you love who is going to be alive in 2032 collecting a Social Security check. Inaction is the trigger. Now you know what the trigger looks like. Pass it on.